The gayest soap ever just got a whole lot more gay in the last couple of weeks, with a storyline that feels like it's giving me a payoff after, I kid you not, 10 years. Only on a soap could this happen. And so I simply had to make a video about it because it looks like things are hotting up between one Dr. Harper Whitley and the new doctor on the block, Phil, who has taken a definite shine to Harper. It's going to end in disaster. It's written all over this pairing, but I am here for it. For some people, their guilty pleasure is trashy reality TV. For me, it's soaps with sapphic storylines in them, but I do not feel guilty about it. Oh no, I do not. I am just delighted.
It's a feeling you get with another person. You could have a whole conversation with just their eyes and you know that you want her just as much as she wants you.
A year and a bit ago, I made a video about the gayest soap ever, Shortland Street, set in the fictional hospital in my home country of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I went over the more than 20 sapphic characters that had appeared in its 32 years of being on air, and talked about how things had gotten super gay in the last few years, with somewhere around 4 or so sapphic characters on the show at any one time. I think at its peak there were 7, which is insane. Right now we have got Harper and Phil and the doomed love affair that is happening as we speak. We've got Nicole and Maeve, the solid lesbian couple on the show. We have got Nicole's mother, Leanne, who started out super homophobic.
Because there are some things that are too ugly and too sick for a mother to love.
And ended up falling in love with Maeve's mother, Rosalind. And between these 5 sapphic characters, they took up something like 20 minutes of Friday's episode because Nicole is struggling with the fact that Leanne has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So there's this big dramatic storyline going there. And then, of course, we have Harper and Phil, who both have partners and are edging towards a full-blown affair, because they've now shared 2 kisses and neither one of them seems to be able to back off. But before I get into what is going on currently, let me just take you back 10 years to when Harper Whitley came on the show. She arrived in May 2013, and over the next 9 months or so, she developed a friendship with Nicole, who has been on the show since 2010. She is the resident bisexual and has had many relationships with men and women, but at the moment, she is married to a woman, Maeve. And that friendship turned into a relationship in February of 2014, and they went out together for 4 months. And you know, I put them onto my top 10 soap and telenovela pairings of all time a couple of years ago, because I don't know, there was something about them that I just really liked. Maybe it was because at the time, every single sapphic storyline on a soap or a telenovela was some huge deal where one of them was coming to terms with their sexuality, whereas in this storyline, Harper, who had never been with a woman before, she just accepted it. It was really no big deal. She went from having the thought of wanting to kiss a woman to kissing the woman in about 30 seconds.
I've never thought about being with a woman before.
Well, why should you? You like men.
I like you too.
I just really admired that in her. This is in spite of the fact that this relationship was never meant to go anywhere. It was very clear from the beginning because Harper was crushing on another character, TK, and he was out of bounds because he was married to a good friend of hers. And Nicole had literally married herself because she was trying to take herself off the market.
Well, thanks to you, I have some serious self-apologies to make. I broke so many vows.
But I was worth it though.
After being heartbroken by her last relationship with a guy called Vinny. And so Vinny was very much present throughout the 4 months of dating. Every time anyone heard that Harper was in a relationship with Nicole, they were all like, no, she's straight. She's just trying to distract herself.
Oh, you're not gay, are you?
Maybe I'm bi.
Including future sapphic Leanne.
And you're a man's woman, really, aren't you? Make this experiment with Nicole.
Who was very anti-Nicole and Harper. So when, a decade later, Harper kisses Maeve after a drunken poker night, and Leanne says,
I always knew that Harper would want to get back with women.
No, you didn't.
That made me laugh. A joke 10 years in the making. Leanne was very much on the Vinny train, and ultimately Nicole did choose to go back to her. But in the meantime, it looked like Harper had genuinely fallen in love with Nicole. They were even talking about having a family, about having children together. And I love the fact that they never tried to retcon Harper into being straight.
I've had my heart broken before and I'll cope. You know what hurts? Realising what an idiot I was.
Because she went off the rails a little bit after Nicole dumped her. What I felt was missing was I felt like we never really got proper closure between Nicole and Harper. Harper went on to date TK for a little bit, very briefly, then went on to having a more serious relationship with another character on the show called Boyd. In the meantime, Nicole got pregnant really quickly, and poor Harper, she felt that one. But after the baby was born, they just started to have Nicole and Harper hang out together as friends. And then, which I think was very cool, is they actually had them become best friends, and they have been very close since that time. But they never really had a conversation, at least that I'm aware of, where they ever really touched on the fact that they dated for 4 months. They just seemed to slide into being friends, and the past was in the past and it was all buried. It's not like they never acknowledged it on the show. In 2019, they had a girls' night where Dawn, one of the other characters who also had a bit of a sapphic storyline where she questioned her sexuality and ended up having a woman crush on her quite badly, she mentioned how Nicole and Harper had dated for a while.
It wasn't a proper relationship like these two.
And I don't know, there was a little look there where I'm like, I would so love them to get back together.
We were together for a while.
So the real question is, who's better in bed, Vinny or Harper?
It's Harper, obviously.
That would be the ultimate payoff. If they ever did that, I would probably lose my mind. Although, of course, Nicole is happily married to Maven. I'm quite happy for them to continue to be married together, but secretly, I won't lie, I still want Nicole and Harper to get together. But in the meantime, I'll definitely take Harper and Phil. But rolling it back to 2015, that is when Harper met Drew McCaskill. He is a total bad boy, he's a surgeon, and there's this whole love story triangle that happened between Harper, Drew, and Boyd. And Harper ended up leaving Boyd, who was her fiancé at that point, for Drew. They got married, they had a kid, and I thought this was very cool. They decided to make that child intersex and to give them they/them pronouns on the show. Of course, because it's a child, they haven't really done much exploring of intersex, but the fact that there is an intersex kid on the show and it's just so casually treated, I just love that so much. Then they go on to adopt a kid, have another child, which all sounds very heterosexual of Harper, but they did let that little bisexual flag fly because there have been 1 or 2 little instances just to keep it in our head that Harper is not straight, and I absolutely love that. One of them is that at one point, Harper and Drew had a nanny, and, she's a cute looking girl, and they end up having a threesome together. It doesn't really go much further than the threesome. Danny tries to come on to Harper on her own, and Harper's like, no, only when Drew is here. And then I think Danny went and slept with Drew, and things fell apart really quickly there. But just the fact that they had Harper having a threesome with another woman, just a little sign, just flying that little bi flag. I appreciate it. And then they had this other instance where Nicole and Maeve were having some marital problems, and one night at a party, Maeve gets really drunk and Harper comes to see how she's doing. Pretty much thinking that her marriage is over, she goes and kisses Harper.
You're kind of amazing.
And let me just say that Harper responds. She kisses Maeve back, and even Maeve noticed. So although Harper pulls back and she ends up telling Drew very quickly, and she acts as if it's no big deal, I think there was a little bit of feeling going on there. So I know that there are some Harper and Maeve shippers out there who would totally be there for something to happen. Because when Maeve calls Harper on the fact that Harper kissed her back, she shuts it down.
I could have sworn you kissed me back.
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, look, I was drunk, but you were drunker. I'm surprised you can remember, actually.
But I don't know. I feel like she wanted to go there. And ever since Maeve has come on the show, they have had Maeve and Harper sharing a fair amount of screen time, friendly screen time, just having chats, sharing things, and clearly having a friendship. So I could totally see how that relationship could totally happen. So there have been a few little sapphic instances for Harper, but a lot of that could be brushed off for one reason or another. It's only now with Phil, a surgical doctor who has arrived on the scene, that things have gotten really gay for Harper once again. The way it starts, however, is that Phil, who is wanting to, ingratiate herself, starts to flirt rather obviously with Harper's husband Drew, because he is the head of surgery and Phil is a surgical doctor.
Oh my God, there's nothing going on. I mean, if that's what you mean, I promise, obviously.
No, I know, and I'm not worried about that. It's just, don't make him look like a fool, okay?
Harper notices this straight away, and it's not that she's acting super jealous, which I guess you could read something into that and where she's at with her relationship with Drew, but she's definitely got her eye on Phil. But does she have her eye on Phil because of the flirting? Or does she have her eye on Phil because she thinks Phil is rather nice? Harper doesn't seem to think that there is a lot of risk that Drew is going to go there. That's as far as their interactions had gone for the first little while, until there was a poker night. Phil is being just a little bit saucy because she's been in an open relationship. She is totally open to having some liaisons with other people. Harper at this point is feeling maybe a little old because she's just had to get some reading glasses, and I guess she's not feeling very desirable at that point. And I think she's just trying to prove to herself that she's still young at heart. So when Phil suggests that they up the ante by doing strip poker, she is all in for it. And it gets to the point where it's just Phil and just Harper who haven't folded. When Phil suggests that they not just throw in the stripping, but they also throw in a pash. Phil says that whoever loses can choose who to pash. It doesn't have to be each other. Although, I don't know, she's giving some eyes where it's a little bit suggestive. And Harper is on board. Phil ends up losing, so she ends up taking down her top and flashing everyone at this poker night. And it must have done something to Harper, because next second, she's up and she decides that out of all the people present, she is going to try and pash Maeve. Maeve is really not happy about that. She didn't appreciate it. But this felt like this was Harper trying to keep up with Phil and her antics.
She was so desperate to prove how cool and young and free she was that it was almost cute for a minute.
And I think this is the moment where things started to shift a little bit. As soaps do, we start to see them having a few more on-screen exchanges. And then there's this moment where Harper has noticed that things are a little bit uncertain between Phil and Ihaya, who is Phil's guy. And Phil makes this comment.
The rest of the time I just think we'd be better off without men, don't you think?
I feel like a little bell went off in Harper, because the next private interaction they have, Harper is definitely flirting with Phil, and Phil is definitely aware that that is happening.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna get back to doing my job now.
And I think it's just super cute because Harper's getting all flustered, and I love that. And from there, the flirting intensifies to the point where Maeve is clocking it.
Well, you're like a therapist. If the therapist was incredibly hot and brilliant at emergency medicine.
Okay, are you trying to flatter your way to a juicy consult?
What was that?
What?
Are you kidding me? The flirting? Hey, please, I know where this goes and it's no way good.
And Phil is not one to beat around the bush, and so she goes to find Harper, and they kiss. Although Harper pushes Phil away and says that this can't go any further, she keeps saying that, but she keeps acting in a way where she is inviting Phil's flirtations.
You can't be mad.
You got pretty bloody close.
Not as close as I want it.
Stop it.
Some pretty mixed messaging that is going on.
Unless it's work related, don't come near me again.
Harper.
Notably, she doesn't tell Drew that this kiss happened, unlike she did with when Maeve kissed her. So that says to me that she's clearly feeling something pretty powerful, because otherwise why wouldn't she have gone straight to Drew and said that that had happened? It didn't take them long to get to a second kiss, which happened just in the week that has aired. They're clearly trying to build this pairing up a little bit, because they have this exchange one night where they find themselves having a glass of wine together, and they're talking about how good the other smells and the perfume that they're wearing.
I just felt so powerful and sexy and irresistible. God, does that sound delusional? You don't need perfume to be desirable.
And I think she's feeling just a little bit neglected by Drew, who can't apparently seem to remember what body wash she likes to use. And so we are led to a second kiss. This time, Harper ends up pushed up against a wall. So things are heating up a little bit. And the fact that there was a bed right next to them when that kiss happened, before, of course, that they were interrupted, did not escape my notice. So it seems like they are definitely headed for a full-blown affair.
I know it was wrong, but it was pretty great, right? That's what's bothering me.
Hey there, editing me here. While I've been editing this video, another episode dropped where it ended on a cliffhanger of Harper turning up on Phil's doorstep, and without a word, Harper passionately kisses Phil. Things have escalated quite a bit, and I do think they've probably fallen into bed now. I guess we'll find out in the next episode. I really do hope this is not a flash in the pan. Okay, back to the video. However, it's also very clear that this is not going to be a love story. They've been planting the seeds for how it's not a love story, with things like how Harper says to Phil,
"You are bored and stirring. Guilty. So it's got to stop. We both have partners."
Also, the fact that Phil has been dealing with a miscarriage and she has become exclusive with her boyfriend by the time this little intrigue starts. And Ihaya's ex is on the scene as a security guard who has shown up in the hospital following some incidents. They've also exposed that Phil's relationship with Ihaya is pretty problematic. They seem to be relatively dysfunctional, which is all enough to suggest that Phil could very well just be looking for a distraction from dealing with her emotions at this point. But I also have to say that they are framing it as something that is a genuine attraction.
I like you. Okay, well that doesn't matter because nothing can ever happen again. Okay. But still, I like you like that. No games.
For Harper, there are also some other circumstances that are flavoring why she might be open to this relationship. Like I mentioned before, she's feeling perhaps a little neglected by Drew. Not that he's doing anything in particular, but they have had a very tempestuous relationship, as you would expect. It's a soap. But at the end of 2022, she did go ahead and leave Drew and the kids for a number of months without any contact, because she was suffering from postpartum depression with the birth of her third child, and her mental health got so bad that she ended up taking off to go and sort herself out. Of course, in the soapiest, most dysfunctional way possible. But I think it's entirely possible that although it was as a result of postpartum depression, that there was also an element to her leaving which signals a dissatisfaction with her domestic life. She's someone who has always been attracted to danger and drama, which is why she ended up being in a relationship with Drew, because there was plenty of drama going on there. Her ex-fiancé Boyd was just too vanilla for her. The only relationship that she's had where she seemed perfectly content to be a total nana was with Nicole. Food for thought there, right? And then, of course, just before things kicked off with Phil, she was probably feeling a little bit old, a little bit past it because of the glasses. And then Phil comes along, this young, beautiful, intelligent woman who clearly finds her incredibly desirable.
There's something here, Harper. Don't you feel it?
And who won't listen to Harper's weak protests to try and stop the relationship. And of course, that dynamic, it's a little bit problematic, and that is part of the reason why I think Phil is not good news. She's not listening and respecting Harper's boundaries that she repeatedly tries to put down. But then again, Harper herself is saying one thing and then acting another way. It's clear that she really wants it, she just knows that she shouldn't. And overall, what delights me most about what's going on is that we're getting to see Harper's bisexuality come to the front. Even if it took 10 years to happen, the delight is even greater because of the 10 years that have elapsed. And I'm hoping that we're going to get a fully fledged sapphic storyline for Harper. Maybe this is the storyline to definitively break Harper and Drew up. I don't think so. I feel like they've established them as such a solid long-term couple that they are unlikely to break them up permanently. But maybe it will open Harper up to being a little bit more honest about where she's at. This reminds me of another doomed sapphic storyline that Shortland Street did a couple of years back with Rebecca and Maeve. A total disaster that was just so fun. So I'm definitely here for the ride. If Nicole and Harper could be in-game, like I said, I think I would absolutely lose my mind over it. But in the meantime, I am super excited to see where this disastrous little sapphic storyline is going to go. Now, if any of this sounds intriguing to you and you wouldn't mind checking it out, there is a YouTube channel called Nicole Zara who has been uploading all of the clips, and there is a huge amount of backlog for many of the sapphic pairings on Shortland Street, so do go check that out. Highly recommend. Alternatively, if you have a VPN, you can set yourself up with a login at TVNZ Plus, where you can watch around about 6 months worth of backlog. If you don't have a VPN, then you can get one. I have a link in the description.